So we will. Is there any questions on 61 or 62 before we look at that? So we look at problem number 62. Let's go with the calligraphy pen. Because we're looking for the measure of angle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What is one of the angles we know for sure? What's angle 1? 90. Because where the diagonals intersect in a kite is always going to be 90 degrees because the diagonals in a kite are perpendicular to each other. We also know that the angles between the congruent sides, because these two and these two would be congruent, are going to be congruent. So angle 3 and 50 degrees will be the same as 20 degrees in angle 2, the whole angle. What that being said, actually angle 2 is going to be what? 50, because that one is 50. Angle 3 is going to be 20. Right, to find the measure of angle 4, so we can call it x plus 20 plus 90 is equal to 180. Well, 20 plus 90 is 110. And if we subtract 110 from 180, you get that x is equal to 70. So the measure of angle 4 is 70 degrees. We didn't ask for it, or I didn't ask for it, but what would this angle be? 70 also. Now we need to find 5 and 6. Well, we can do the exact same thing we just did. Because we do have another right triangle. So we can say that angle 6 plus 50 plus what is equal to 180. Well, 50 plus 90 is if we subtract 140 from both sides, we get that x is 40. So the measure of angle 6 is, the measure of angle 5 would be. And we have these here. I erase all this here. So we found out that this angle here is 20, then we had 70, 20, 50, 40, 40, and these were all 90, yes? And the sum of the interior angles for a four-sided figure is always going to be 360. Now, if we were to add all the angles together, we actually would ignore the 90s because they are inside it, but they're not considered the interior angles because the interior angles meet at the vertices. So that, even though they're inside the figure, they're not a part of the interior angles. So the only ones we would be looking at is the 70, 70, 20, 50, 40, 40, and the last 20 and 50. Well, if we add up all those zeros, we get 0. And if I was looking through this here, well, the 5 and 5 would give us a 10. 4, 4, and 2. 4 and 4 is 8, and 2 would give us a second one. 7, 7 is, plus 2 is 16, yes? So that would make this a 360. So it would work out. We just can't include the 4 right angles in the middle because they are not a part of the interior angles. Any other questions on 62? Questions on 63 or 64? Hmm? 64. We're missing 2 angles, but it's only asking for x. What's the other angle that's not written in? Which would be 110, because the angles between the non-congruent sides are congruent. And they will all add together to be, so x plus 110 plus 110 plus 30 is 360. Well, we can add 110 plus 110 plus 30 and you get and interestingly enough, this angle is going to be 110. So it can work out that way. And realistically, this is just a certain coincidence where this does work out. Any questions on this here? Okay. So the last formula that we have is for mid-segment. And the mid-segment is equal to 1/2 of the 2 bases, the sum of the 2 bases. The mid-segment is equal to 1/2 of the sum of the 2 bases. And it's always going to be in the exact middle. So if we look at 65, I want to find the mid-segment. So we're going to take 1/2 of 4 plus, well, what is 4 plus 12? And 1/2 of 16 is? So the mid-segment is 8. And one good thing to remember is that whenever you're finding the mid-segment, it should always be between the 2 numbers. So I should not get an answer that is less than 4 or greater than 12. Any questions on this one here? Any questions on 66? This would be the exact same thing, yes? Questions on 67 or 68? 67. So we do know something about 11.3. It's the mid-segment, yes? So it should be in the exact middle of 4.2 and whatever the other side is, yes? So whatever answer I get, it should not be less than what? 11.3. Because we already do have the one smaller than it, 4.2, yes? So whatever this is, it should be bigger than 11.3. Now if we set this up by the formula, the mid-segment's length is equal to 1/2 of the sum of the 2 bases. Now the first thing I would do is multiply both sides by 2. Because the 2 and the 1/2 will cancel out, leaving us with x plus 4.2 on the one side. On the other side, we need to multiply 11.3 by 2, which is going to be 22.6. And lastly, what would we do? Which will tell us that x is equal to What's the difference between 4.2 and 11.3? And that works as well. Because the difference between these here is, so the difference between these two should be, which would give us what? Because if we multiply both sides by 2, (9.6) times 2 is going to be 19.2 is equal to x plus 3. Minus 3 from 19.2, and we get the answer. Any questions on mid-segments? Let's look at 71. This will be the last one we look at. Now, what's different about this one here than the previous is, well, this one we have, all of them have x. All of them have a variable, yes? Well, I know that the mid-segment's length is told to me to be x plus 15, yes? Well, this here is equal to 1/2 the sum of the two bases. Because the two bases' lengths are given to me in equations, but we can still plug it into the equation. So we can combine like terms first, which will tell us that x plus 15 is equal to 1/2 of 9x and 3x is 12x, plus 9 and 7 is. Now it does work out that 12x and 16 are both even numbers, so we could multiply it by 1/2 just fine. Or if we wanted to, kind of keeping in the pattern we've been using, we can multiply both sides by 2. Because these will still cancel. Over here, 2 times x is plus 30. Because remember, we have to multiply not just by the x, but also by the 15. We have to multiply it by every single term on that side. We do it here when we multiply it by the 1/2. Well, the 1/2 is also being multiplied by the 12x plus 16. So multiplying it by just the 1/2 actually does multiply by everything on that side. Because here, these are being multiplied together, yes? Here, are they being multiplied? No, they're being what? Added. Because x and 15 are being added together, yes? Here, the 1/2 and the 12x plus 16 are being multiplied. So when I multiply it also, it is distributed through everything. Okay? That's the main difference. Is equal to plus 16. Taking minus 16 from both sides, yes. And what that would give us is that 2x plus is equal to 12x. Which tells us that 14 is equal to hopefully. If we multiply by 10, what do we do? 10 times 14 is what? So we add a 0, yes? So we're moving a decimal one place to the Yes. Because when we multiply by 10, we're moving the decimal one place to the right. When we divide by 10, we're moving it one to the left. That's kind of nice, isn't it? We're just moving the decimal to the left or right. I think that's all it asked for these here, just the value of x, isn't it? Yeah, so that would be it. If we actually wanted to know the measures of the bases, we can just 3 times 1.4 plus 7, and 1.4 plus 15. Because this here would be 16.4. 3 times 1.4 is 2, carry the 142. Because 2 carry the 1. 4.2 plus 7 is 11.4. And 9 times 1.4 plus 9. And we'd get the links there. Any questions on this here? So that's all we're going to do for today. Your test will be moved to Monday because you won't have enough time to finish it today anyways.